Hey folks, welcome to a very delayed live stream. I am so sorry to keep everybody waiting if you are joining our live stream today. We had no end to technological failures this morning, and even once we thought we had resolved them, we had yet more problems. And so without any further ado, I'm delighted to introduce, returning to the show, our good friend, Eric, and my former colleague, Venkata. Eric Foster is the CEO of 10x AI, and Venkata is the CTO of 10x.ai. There's been a disagreement, listeners, on whether we had a dot in there or not. And so I want to kick things off with what is hopefully a softball, although it's not going to sound like a softball. Why is your AI-powered MDR special? And why did you build this from scratch rather than say, like, why is one built from scratch going to win rather than like an existing MDR that just adopts AI?
It's a great question. I think we'll start right there with the obvious pandering. So there's a couple really great questions wrapped up in that. So one, we're very heavily partnered with Google with our MDR. We believe that Google is going to win the security platform wars. We believe the hyperscalers have a tremendous advantage at this. You own your own compute, you own your own storage, you also own your own AI stack. So one of the things that I would tell you to answer that, Tim, is we're not like training our own foundational models. We took money from Andreessen Horowitz, which we're leveraging to build the next great cybersecurity services company powered by AI. We believe that right now, artificial intelligence is going to disrupt the services industry in general. Replacing management consultants, real estate, legal.
Replacing management consultants, I believe that part.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we won't throw anybody specifically under the bus. But
all my McKinsey friends, this one's for you.
There you go. But literally down to the name of the company, right? We believe that it's 10x. It's taken very directly from your great.
So original stock paper from 2021 is the 10x.
Literally where we got the name of the company was the idea that.
I just wanted to hear it explicitly, so my ego gets I mean, it's like
listeners, I need space from Anton's ego. It's bad. I'm getting smushed here.
This truly visionary white paper.
Oh my God! All right.
And Anton. But we believe truly that a 10x, a true order of magnitude shift, is capable. Well, so why are we winning versus the legacy MSSP MDR guys? Well, one of the fundamental principles that very well known in Silicon Valley, the innovator's dilemma.
Yeah.
You built a great business as a legacy MSSP. You have people and process and technology that, quite frankly, if you could, you should tear down entirely in the age of artificial intelligence. And again, with all love and respect to your McKinsey colleagues, like it's tough for them to disrupt their legacy business and retool everything for AI. It really is one of our insane advantages. And even we kind of talk about this of like how amazing the Google engineering capabilities are, but the things that we've been able to accomplish with a very small engineering team. But then I would also say, back to my first point, we're not displacing, we're not building something that Google can build. We're building the things that Google is choosing not to build for a variety of reasons. We're augmenting the SecOps stack. We're leveraging Mandiant. We're leveraging Gemini for security. We're leveraging SecOps. We're leveraging SecOps SOAR, all of that. And then we're just augmenting components of it.
Yeah, I love that.
And I think that it's almost clear to me that the main sense of an argument is that if you have a classic MDR, MSSPs, when you have people watching the screens since the late 90s, and then you say, oh, actually, we're just going to do AI. I can see how this chasm may not be. They would try to jump the chasm in 5 jumps and would not work. Exactly.
It's a good metaphor.
Yeah, but I think that I don't necessarily think that anything AI native always wins over not AI native, but in this case it does make sense because you don't have this whole people replacement mindset. We're building something new that works better compared to the old process. I would buy the argument. Yes,
totally. Even on a tech side, obviously we're building on top of like Google SecOps, which is like amazing at like storing like exabyte data and doing like a lot of native functionality in it. Even from an AI stack, we're building on top of like Gemini. You compare from a cost point of view to like go run an AI native like operation. it's like night and day. Like $12 cents, like a million token versus some of the competitors are on the order of tens of dollars for million tokens.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
It is wonderful. Like, and I tell you, like my COGS conversations with Eric and my CEO are like very easy. It's like 12 cents.
I want to briefly.
You hear that, listeners? Gemini makes the COGS conversation easy. This is great.
I want to briefly ask a side question to this. It's kind of logical and clear why this would beat the classic MSSP MDR trying to adopt MDR, but there are other AI-powered modern MDRs people are trying to launch. And what is your secret advantage? Apart from using Google text, which is when they counts.
Sure, and honestly, that is one big component. Is Anton, Tim, we literally pioneered the Google security relationship from a security services side. There's essentially nobody better, more experienced on the planet at building, delivering services in the Google security ecosystem than us and our team. And so bringing that expertise to the table, being able to help our customers achieve all of the value out of their investment in Google Cloud and in Google Cloud security is an important part of our differentiator. But two, there's a lot of people trying to tackle AI security in general, right? In fact, I made the mistake of walking the floor yesterday, and
what did you say?
Not to throw out, not to cast any specific shade. I saw so many things, but like not to cast specific shade. I'm not going to name and shame here, but very security vendor who has, we're the leaders in AI security operations, and it's like, man, you guys at best are a remote access tool for threat actors these days. Like, that's your main value proposition. Like, you are not leading AI security. You've bolted this on at best. And so we're really coming truly digital native, AI native, the whole foundation of the company. Venkata, before we were able to recruit him away from Google, was literally in the AI division inside of Google Cloud Security, and has that tremendous real world expertise. I'd spent the last several years of my career in the AI endpoint space. Like, we have this very practical, grounded application of AI. But then the big difference, besides this isn't just sprinkled on, this is real use of artificial intelligence. We've got the background in the services industry. So many of the people that are attacking this are attacking it from a pure software perspective.
Yes.
And we believe.
I think I like that argument quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I think the next question is kind of about humans versus AI.
Yeah,
because obviously you are an
Good question.
MDR. You are an MDR, which implies that and they also mentioned services many times. So today there's a sort of a balance in your mind and in your company between this is what the machines do, this is what humans do. So kind of like two sub-questions to this. Well, how does it look like today? And how do you think it will change? Because do you think that even within your framework, would machines do more? Would humans do some things forever? Like, go tell us more about this whole human versus machines balance today and in the future.
Yeah, give us the John Henry.
You got it. Take a little bit.
So I think from again our bottom line tagline is like human-led, machine-driven, basically, right? So we believe the toughest problems in cybersecurity still needs humans at the helm, making the tough decisions that only like a human can make based on years and years and years of experience. We believe AI will absolutely make them much more efficient. We believe AI is going to be used to like augment them like a lot more, right? So for example, like what we do from a technology point of view is, Tim, this, working closely on like some of the things. Biggest problem in getting anything like machine learning AI is the label data set, right? It's like, hey, we'll spend quarters, years, maybe even like come up with a proper label data set, basically, right? What we are doing on our side is we're actually like watching our analysts, like using computer vision, right? And say, hey, you're working at a case for a real customer. Let us like basically observe with like computer vision what you're doing. So you basically go look into a threat intel testing, then you go basically CrowdStrike and do a isolating the host or something like that. And we translate all of that using computer vision models and then basically bring it back to like the LLM and say, hey, here is it. Learning from the analyst.
But it has to be a good analyst. Absolutely. Because there was an actual startup that failed by trying to learn from really incompetent analysts using supervised ML. and then transfer learning to others. So it was kind of like an interesting failure mode, which I think you're avoiding by observing the top shelf people who know what they're doing, including some things that maybe AI wouldn't learn from just reading blogs.
It's one of the insane advantages we have. We're able to hire even better people than usual in building a cybersecurity services company because we can truly achieve this vision of the 10x SOC. If we can hire 10x engineers and 10x security people already, because I'm a fundamental believer in that concept of the 10x developer, right? It's not a myth. They're the people who are amazing at creative and problem-solving work are an order of magnitude better. And then if you take those order of magnitude people, put them in one place with a shared mission, and give them the most advanced technology on the planet to give them another order of magnitude, it should have been 100.
Yeah, we should like probably not. At this point, we're like
10 times 10.
I feel like this is 5 minute out. You give yourself 4 minute out. So I want to drill in on this human thing for a minute and ask what do you think today are humans uniquely good at, and where will that remain in the future? 5 years from now, what are your people still going to be doing?
That's a great question. I don't think humans are going to be out of the loop in making primary decisions in cybersecurity for the next 2 decades. Like, I'll go on record saying
20 years.
I think artificial intelligence is security is an AI addressable problem. It's not an AI solvable problem. Cybersecurity.
This is we should probably freeze for a moment and say this is hugely important. This is AI addressable versus AI solvable. This is an important bit, and probably paid for the tickets for whoever's buying tickets to our podcast. This matters quite a bit.
The tickets are free.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Neuromancer. I'd love to see the AI. Absolutely. But I don't think that's going to be reality. I think. So before moving to the AI endpoint space, I was fortunate enough to do a stint in defense tech, and even with defense tech, with some of the leading edge of artificial intelligence and automation and robotics, they're not trying to build Terminators. They're not trying to build these autonomous robots that are going to go and wipe everybody out. What they're doing is taking what used to be, and I think this is such an important analogy for cyber that I'm making. It used to take a crew of something like 35 people to fly a fighter jet. It's not just one pilot. It's not just the Wizzo in the back seat. It's this whole team of people. The new model for the Air Force, for example, is how one pilot can pilot 1,000 drones. And so it's that true couple order of magnitude shift. We believe that's the same fundamental model for the future of cybersecurity. It's about having a human who's really, computers are great at pattern matching. They're great at making connections and data that you might not be able to see or visualize. But we especially don't think customers, the organizations are ready to turn over the controls of the launch command to the AI, to the robots. They want a skilled human in the loop that they can hold accountable, that they can train, that can make the primary decisions. And so that's what we've spent a lot of our time on focusing on is how do we give those analysts better data, better context, and then how do we automate their decisions? So when I go, hey, this is ransomware, run the ransomware playbook. Here are the 10 steps that it's going to go. I can click a button, computer vision agents, computer use models can spin up and do the things that I would have had to normally do.
And it's evident from our initial conversations with some of our customers, and they don't want AI to just make the decisions for them, right? They want humans to make the decisions, but AI to assist them in making those decisions much more quickly.
Yes, and I think that comes up in a trust question because we do hear the sort of noises and concerns with agents missing things because of insufficient context, insufficient data access, or data being in some human heads, which agent obviously cannot access. So I think I like the model with the balance in between human and machines, but are there buyer concerns about agents missing things, and how do you deal with this? How do you supervise what the machines do? Like, to me, this is like a building trust question. And that to me is kind of unresolved for many of the AI only tech approaches, which makes me nervous, not because I'm like an old guy or whatever, but because I definitely see things being missed.
I also really like the subtle reference to Stanislav Petrov in that previous answer. So shout out to that guy for saving the world real quick. But how are you thinking about this?
Yeah, I mean, we think AI can do amazing things for us. It can make our people more efficient and more effective. But we think fundamentally that those humans are going to make the critical decisions, and the technology can come behind and help them.
And from a quality perspective, here you're going with, there's no silver lining. It's going to take time. That's also the reason that's why we believe it's going to take us a good chunk of time to get to fully solving these problems to an extent as well. The key is we still rely on this extremely efficient senior analysts from our side, where the RLHF loop really kicks in and says, hey, we think this is the cluster here, right? You agree? Do you not agree? And that's the advantage of like having humans behind an AI native solution to give you that absolute like reinforced learning like right at the time of like solving a particular case.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
part of what we've been able to do, and what I think any company that wants to take advantage of artificial intelligence in their security operations, I mean, it's building human reinforcement in at every layer.
Yeah.
You know, so that every decision is made, you're able to capture that learning from a human, feed it back into the model, feed it back into the training, and go from there.
So before we go to closing, I want to ask a possibly harsh question. And we are still at RSA, and we're going to be walking the show floor, so we don't want to annoy.
We are also in
Right. So I'm going to annoy a vendor right now. No, vendor is not my name. And then they can beat us up in theory when we walk.
But not
But I'm still going to do it. So like, but does it mean that when somebody says, here's the box, it's AI SOC, it has no humans and it replaces a human SOC, what would you tell the customer who tends to believe in that? Like you and me know that it's actually completely false.
Yeah.
Today and in the near future, it's just flat out false. It won't work in real world.
Yeah.
But like, what do you tell the customer with some customer empathy in mind?
Of
Like
course.
not because without using the words like idiot and
stupid and dumb.
right. Like basically, like what is a
What's the
empathetic
nice way to
answer?
help
What is an
How
empathetic
do you
answer?
help
to
them
this?
make the right decision?
It's a great, that is
It's
a
a good
great
question.
Yeah, I'm afraid a little bit because we're gonna go in there 30 AI SOC vendors with baseball bats,
No,
maybe
actually,
waiting for us.
I don't disagree at all. And in fact, I think, you know, there's a real fine line here of trying to solve problems from a theoretical perspective. And from
Yes,
the-
them are ready, real world not
you
ready.
know, where does the rubber meet the road?
Yeah.
And it's part of our advantage, having built and run some of the largest SOCs on the planet and built and scaled this. Like, we understand what it's like to do cyber defense at scale, with all respect to some of those other vendors who just literally come from the theoretical side of it. So like, yeah, there's some interesting problems to solve here, but like, how does this actually get implemented into a real organization? How are they going to make the risk management decisions, even the contractual decisions, to put this software into place? That we bring a lot of that advantage. I actually think a lot of those AI SOC vendors are going to end up trying to pivot into the services space.
Yes.
They're going to realize
Right.
that it's really hard to go to market with a novel software solution that's trying to be so much intelligence. They're going to realize, probably too late, the advantage that we have coming from that human-driven perspective. When we can train on the analysts, we can train on their activity. We've got those skilled people at the home making those decisions, but then feeding back into the model. And then I think their investors are going to find that it's hard to take a software company and pivot it into services, especially if we've never done the services perspective. So
Yes.
part of why A16Z made the bet on us is coming from that background of leading services companies bringing in the digital era.
Well, I hate to do this, but I have to.
No, please.
Traditional closing questions.
Yeah.
One tip to help people adopt AI in their SOC, and two, recommended reading.
I love it. Let me take both of those, and then you should do the same.
You each get a shot.
Yeah, I love it. So my first real tip, and this is not pandering, integrating AI into your SOC, you should absolutely, as we touched on earlier, you've got to look at Gemini just from a cost perspective. If you're not using Gemini in your security operations, you are probably making a costing decision, unless you're just, you know, and there are a few of you who are completely price insensitive, or if you have unlimited budget. And I mean that. There are a few organizations that are listening. Unlimited budget, okay, do whatever you want to do. But there is no more efficient model that we've tested them all, we've used them all, we've built our, you know, a lot of people, you build a model router, you go use a lot of different things, and we're doing that as well. But like Gemini, we keep coming back to not only some of the best performance, but the best performance for the money. So not pandering, very just literal advice to you listening out there.
Love that.
Recommended reading. So I'm actually going to give just a tiny variant of that question, which is I'm going to recommend a podcast / online reading / everything else. So we all in cybersecurity, the Hack Health movement. So they've got a podcast, they've got a website, they've got some other stuff. We in cybersecurity, quite frankly, we don't do great at taking care of ourselves. It's a high stress position. You're literally under attack all day. You've got cortisol, you're literally activating fight, flight, freeze in your day job.
Yeah.
And then we all also tend to be very sedimentary. We're behind a
We're
keyboard.
sitting right now.
We're sitting right now doing all this. We Hack Health is a cybersecurity focused fitness basically collective.
What?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know.
That is so
I did not know
niche.
that's a
That
thing.
is so niche.
But that's cool also. It's
Yeah.
niche, but it's also cool.
But, and I mean, I literally will point out, so it started by Dave Kennedy and then Ben Cannon came together. And I mean, Dave Kennedy literally saved my life. Like, and I've
That's
thanked
amazing.
him publicly for it, like changed my whole health paradigm. I mean, Anton, who's known me for a while, I used to be literally 400 pounds. And no small part of the We Hack Health movement has changed my life for the better, my family. But, you know, telling all of you guys, invest in yourself, like to be a better cybersecurity professional, to be a better technology professional, be better for your family. Your health matters a lot. And that movement would be my recommendation. We Hack Health.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. Venkata?
My side, like, say, like, when you are solving a thing, like go solve a real problem with AI. And that's where you'll actually see the difference between, hey, is this AI addressable or is this like AI like fully solvable kind of difference, right? So that's kind of like where even when I started like playing with like some of the AI technology like a year and a half or so ago, the demos that are out there are so flashy and so enticing. You go and put it into use, you see where the LLMs do good. You see where the LLMs are like struggling to some extent, right? So focus on the outcomes, go solve a real problem, and then you can actually have a very opinionated opinion on like, hey, do software just like solve your problem in tech, right? Eric's session was like great on We Hack Health. He actually got me into it, which I'm listening as well, right? But I'll do a tech one. There is this fantastic 2-hour video by Andrej Karpathy, who is basically a OpenAI co-founder, and he's from Tesla AI. I think before that, he talks about at depth how to prompt LLMs correctly, how the LLMs work. It's like 2.5 hours of your best spent time. If you ever listen. It's on YouTube. I think Andrej started doing YouTube stuff like about 3 or 4 months ago. Please go listen to it. It taught me so many things. I thought I know a little bit about this space, but hearing Andrej taught me like so many more things there.
Amazing. Eric, Venkata, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you guys.
Thank
so
you.